I have just started the recording right now. I should have done it before my intro.
That's great. That's great.
So
So
now,
you're recording.
I also want to encourage everyone. You'll probably notice in the top left part of your screen that there are some chat options. We do have the chat window available. Please do share with anyone if you have any questions that pop up as we go along, and you want to do this. So at this time, I'll turn it over back to you, Julius.
Okay.
And there we go.
Wonderful. Well, we're very happy to have everyone with us today. We're probably just going to dive right in and start trying to get us interacting via the app so we can really demonstrate this collaboration in real time. It's not going to be like a PowerPoint. We're not just going to talk for an hour. We're going to have you guys participate in a bunch of activities with us. So that being said, has everyone been able to download the app onto either their iPad or their iPhone? Could you type this into the chat window? And if not, we can help you get it installed. And if so, then we'll show you how to log in and join our group.
If you want to, yeah, just mention in the chat if you've already created an account, or if you already got the app downloaded, or if you oh, great. So someone had the app, they're ready to go. So they're and if you haven't, then I can also try to help you, through the chat window.
Okay, so I see K Brady Long. You have the app. You're ready to go. That's great. So if you log in, you should see a window like this come up. If you could press this little button that looks like a QR code, again, from within logging in the app, if you can press this little button that looks like a QR code, then we can get started and you can join our group.
All right, and I'll someone has an account but not the app, so I'll try to. So if Tanner, do you have an iPad or an iPhone that you'll be using? If so, then I can help you get the app. We're sending you some installation instructions right now. And for those of you, so currently Android will work through the website. So if you have an Android and you have an account, then you can just go to the website. And we can put that information up. Yeah, right now things are currently designed in the OS with either the iPads or iPhones. It makes things interface a little easier for use down to very young kindergarten age students. So if you would let me know, maybe K Brady Long, if you were able to find the QR code button, and when you pressed it, if you're able to aim it at the screen, and if it should have automatically teleported you to our presentation. So if you could just let us know via chat if that worked and you got in there. And for those of you that aren't in the app, I think, yeah, it's all working great. Fantastic. So for those of you that aren't in the app, I think you'll still, by having a few of us in the app, be able to experience what this would look like in your classroom.
Okay,
great.
So we see you in our group, K Brady Long, and we see you in our roster. So you're good to go. And
someone else is downloading the app right now.
We'll have Serena. It looks like Serena and Warren might be able to download the app onto their devices. Now, when you download the app onto your, when you download the app onto your device, you do so by visiting the site install.skyslearn.com. It's going to pop up this window asking you for a username and password. Now, this is the username and password just for downloading the app, not for your account. So you type in Sky as your username, TMNT, that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, for those of you who were in that generation, pizza, their favorite food to eat.
Written right there on the website, TMNT Pizza and Skies.
Now, if you have iOS 9, this message will pop up saying that we're an untrusted enterprise developer, which is not true. We're very trusted. So to trust us, go to the settings and then click some of these commands: General, Device Management, StuCam Intelligent Education Systems, which is us, and then say Trust, and then you should be able to run the app.
And you'll be able to open it and put in the username and password that you created when you made your account. And as you guys are going through that,
So the join code is, I'm just going to type it in here, but you should be able to see it on the screen as well. It's E as in elephant, U as an umbrella, J as in jelly bean, T as in turtle, U as in umbrella, P as in party. I don't know the NATO phonetic alphabet yet, clearly.
So we're going to
we have another. So
person. someone just, so there's the join code there.
Wonderful.
Great. Okay, so we see 2 more people. And so you can see this is actually kind of what students do when we go into the classroom. We show them a QR code and they join our roster so that we know who the students are in our class and we can keep the student work protected. So you guys will be able to see everything because you're officially in our classroom on our roster. Great. And so I guess we're pretty close to being able to get started now. And for those of you, anyone who's still kind of working things, I'll keep a close eye on this chat window so we can, oh, we got another one in there. Fantastic. You guys are, Brian said this was a tech savvy group and that's fast. So.
Okay. So with the current participants, I mean, oh, got it. Okay, wonderful. It looks like, I think there's probably four joined right now. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And as James said, he'll keep an eye on the chat to get anyone who still is downloading in. And anytime you need the QR code or the password or whatever, just let us know and we'll pop that right up. Okay. So, we even have a post already. So
nicely done.
The first thing you might notice about this app is that it's not just like PowerPoint. You know, there are cards, but there are cards arranged, you know, 2-dimensionally. So if you scroll around, you can see that these cards have branches, and that you can scroll through them like a little photo album, and that some of these branches might actually lead to other branches. Like if you scroll down here, you see this card here. If you scroll down here, another card pops up. So it really allows sort of free-ranging exploration. We have all of these key concepts, these main ideas on this main path, but then down below, students can be exploring and you can see all the supplemental information and things like that. But what makes this sort of the most interesting for the classroom is that we're not the only ones who can be adding cards to the tree. Everyone in real time can be contributing to the lesson as we talk. So let's go ahead and give that a try now. And everyone can navigate over to the first card, the one that says, "Who are you? Please introduce yourself." Just go ahead and give that card a tap. Yes? And once that happens, you see this plus sign, this green plus sign appear. Just go ahead and tap that green plus sign, and you'll see all these different card options appear, everything anyone can add. Now, because we asked the question, please just go ahead and say answer. We're going to provide an answer, and then I'm going to introduce myself. Hi. It does work like a Prezi, but you know, a little more hierarchically organized. And it also has a separate presentation mode, which we can show you in a little bit. That is more traditionally like PowerPoint, but with slides below. I enjoy. Okay, so don't hit post quite yet if you're typing in your introduction. We have one extra little feature to show you before you hit the post button.
So if you've already posted, you can select your card and hit the pencil to edit. And then you could also, do this
pencil button.
This
We'll
pencil.
let
so
you.
There's one other feature we want to show you before you press post.
Okay. The feature we want to show you is this little thing that looks like a little Hollywood movie icon with a little speaker. Just go ahead and give this a tap. And now you'll see you can put pictures, drawings, sound clips, video clips, you know, web references, sort of anything you want. I'm going to go ahead and click picture. Now I'm running this on my laptop, so I don't have the camera set up. So I'm going to go ahead and look for a Bing picture. But you guys should be able to take selfies as well, right? I'm going to say, look for a Bing picture. And I'm going to say, I'm a penguin today. So I'll be a penguin. I'll be this guy. Hit select and hit post. And now I'm here. And we're going to keep an eye out for your contributions as well. Oh, and we see my colleague James has posted a picture of his three-year-old son. And we see K. Brady Long has posted a picture, or not picture, but a card. And we have Serena from Cal Poly, welcome. Oh, I'm researching at NOAA, wonderful, the aeronautics. Okay, so if you're on the web app, just hit refresh. Oh, wonderful. Okay, Tanner.
Tanner.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, if you're on the web app, you'll be able to, it's a different interface.
Oh, well,
you've updated. Nice.
Awesome.
And then
Search
move
the
to underneath
Davis.
here.
Cool. And JPL, our sister
JPL.
campus. Nice.
Very cool.
Now, one thing you've noticed is that kind of a cool feature is that, you know, branches can lead to more branches, and so people can branch off other cards. You know, teachers also have the ability to control and move around things. So, for example, I can take Tanner's card and move it around so he's part of the stack like this.
Another thing we might point out is that if you have a class of 20 students, 25 students, you can start getting a really good problem to have, which is a lot of participation and a lot of contributions. If you ever run into this, you can actually collapse down this stack of cards by pressing this little X icon, this little X button, and then we'll turn it into a little teacher stack, everything the teachers have made, and then the 3 student contributions are here that you can scroll through. And this is a really easy way to grade and assess student work too. You can go click, 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 and go through everyone's work. Some of you mentioned Prezi, so another feature I'm going to quickly show you is that you can sort of full screen a card and just sort of go ahead and make it look more like a traditional presentation. So you're not always scrolling and moving around. You're just sort of presenting it more like a traditional thing. But you can also be going down these branches, like this branch, this branch, this branch, and navigate through that way. Okay, wonderful. So I think we have.
Oh, and we got Brian.
Yes.
Hey,
so we have
right.
we have our 4
Nice
participants. Wonderful. So welcome
right.
everyone. Okay. So this is one way we can quickly get student feedback. You can imagine putting out an open-ended question and getting a lot of responses right away. We can also do these sort of clicker style things. So let's maybe go ahead and give this a try. The question we're putting forth is, what is your favorite part of STEAM? Just go ahead and select one of these and then press the submit button. So for me, of course, well, I don't want to prejudice anyone, but I like science. So I'm going to click science and click submit. And we're going to give everyone maybe 20 seconds to put in a response. And then we're going to review everyone's responses. If you want to elaborate, of course, I think everyone already. Yeah, if you want to elaborate, of course, everyone already put in one.
Yeah, there we go.
So 5 people. You guys are all science first people.
And one tech person.
Nice, nice. Very good. Yeah, given star, SRC, I'm seeing, similarities here about what we're all interested in. Okay, and anyone who wanted to elaborate could, of course, branch off a card here to explain further, unlike, regular clickers. Okay, so, why do we use this app? Why do we care? Well, the research shows that collaborative learning is a thing. It works well, better than sort of individualistic or even cooperative learning. When you get people working together towards a common goal, their attitudes improve. They learn better. They achieve more. They've got sort of a better outlook on things. They feel like they're part of the group, the community of learners here.
And that's a robust finding that you see through all sorts of different fields.
Replicated over and over again. Also, teachers who are sometimes like, oh, it's like, I feel like I would love for everyone to be talking, but I'm sitting up here. I need to do all the talking. Getting them to do anything is like pulling teeth. Well, with iPads and with apps like this, everyone participates like crazy. And we found this especially true for English language learners who would normally, not want to raise their hand and, call attention to themselves a lot. Through the app, they're typing like crazy. They're writing, they're participating. Everyone's in this group. The so-called affective filter is lowered. Everyone, able to build expertise off each other. And from a sort of another educational psychology view, the sort of cognitive theory is that the class sort of forms a hive mind, a giant brain, where if you're solving a tough problem, you can actually get a lot of people contributing their ideas and sort of mind mapping and brainstorming.
So one thing that we really like with, especially the focus of some of these science and engineering practices in the new NGSS, is that, this models a lot of what scientists have to do, right? Collaborating and working together.
Yes. And so, and this brings it to the ultimate point, which is that this is all about making a transition. You know, we're not always student-centered, but we like to be able to do a lot of student-centered learning, because that's the most robust, you know, durable way to learn is when you're doing something yourself with your own two hands. And this ultimately gets to the point, you know, they're doing activities together, they're doing lessons together. Ultimately, we love it when students are able to make their own lessons and teach other students. Then the cycle is complete. They become the teachers. So let's give you guys a chance to participate a little more fully on your own. So we have a sort of student-centered question, you guys being the guinea pig students today. If you met a friendly extraterrestrial, what is the first question you would ask that extraterrestrial? So for example, I'm going to go ahead and post a question card. I'm going to say, hello, E.T., what is your favorite food? Hopefully not people. And then I'll go ahead and post a picture of E.T., you know, be fun. There we go. Oh, that's nice. Okay. And so we're just going to give a minute for everyone to post an answer to these hypothetical extraterrestrials come to visit us.
And this is something that you know, we find really speeds up when we're trying to make, you know, lessons that are aesthetically appealing. Is that, you know, you can, you know, make a card. You can always just click that multimedia button and just search for, you know, do a keyword, you know, a Bing search, and so yeah, that really helps to grab the student's attention. There was while you guys are doing that, there was a question about a couple questions about features. So on the web page, to make things expand, below each main path card, there's an expand button. So if you press that, then you'll see all the subcards, and you'll see little chevrons indicating the subgroups. Someone's already posted what they would ask: how do I talk to you more? And then someone also asked about sharing data. Yeah, there's ways that students can upload tables of data, and they can export data to Excel. So we often have, you know, students collecting data and sharing it, which is nice to bring that parallel processing piece to the classroom, rather than having one group trying to measure everything. You know, one group can be measuring something over and over again, and we can have lots of groups doing that, but we can all pool the data together and try to draw conclusions. You prefer eating animals or plants? Oh, nice one. Someone put a nice little question. Hi, Mr. Alien. You know how to read my mind.
Nice. Okay, so we have maybe 4 questions for the alien, which is great. So let's go on to our next card, which is now you're ET. You're the extraterrestrial. Hopefully, you know, a friendly, non-human eating one. Go ahead and find the question that you want to answer, and go ahead and give it a response. So this is the, you know, people can branch off each other's cards. And I'm going to go ahead and be ET, and I'm going to say, how can I talk to you more? Well, we used to run Windows on our Alien OS computers. Unfortunately, on our last visit to Earth, you guys infected us with a virus. So no more computer talking. We're just going to have to meet you in person. And then, you know, in case the reference is not apparent, I'm just going to go ahead and there we go. Yeah, that's it. There. And we're waiting for some other responses. Feinstein, nice. Feinstein, pick up a fight. Nice. They are reading your mind. Water. Salty. Bleh. Oh, mysterious. You know, maybe they live in a methane pool. What is this water thing? Why do we hear? Oh, water. Water. We might like to take some of yours. I like the mind meld, the brainwave. Yes, yes. So, okay, wonderful. So, I mean, this might seem like kind of a contrived, example where we're soliciting questions and getting answers. But what we find is that these mini discussions sort of spontaneously happen on Skies. Students will post questions, and by the time it takes the teacher to go around to answer it, we'll notice that like half the time it's already been answered by another student. Peer-to-peer learning is really a thing that we were very happy. We're surprised to see, but we were very happy to see once we saw it, and it happened over and over again. Okay, here's another sort of example that we're gonna show you. Another way that this is the group brain idea, the way that everyone can sort of learn together and inform each other's learning.
Yeah, when you're sort of learning something new, people have different sort of creative ideas about how they can learn something, and so one thing is mnemonics, usually when you make your own flashcards, you got your own set, right, and they don't get shared. So this has been one fun activity to come up with mnemonics. People come up with different mnemonics, and then you can benefit from the whole class. So something else that we have fun playing around with in the classroom is sign language. And so we were teaching young children the engineering design process. And if you watch these videos, you can see the ASL for how to build something, which is like this. There it is. There's build. And then if you look at the next card, you can see the ASL for improve. Right? So there's ASL for build or create, and there's ASL for improve. We were teaching this to students when we were doing bridge building projects, and so you can see some pictures there of their plans, and then testing, improving. So what I'd like to do now for fun is you guys can select one of these cards, and you can make a branch, and you could put your own idea for a mnemonic. How would you remember that sign means build, or the other sign means improve? So you can just type something, or put in a picture, or whatever you think. And so go ahead, and I'll give you guys a couple seconds to do that. We're going to look at the mnemonics you come up with, and then we're going to show off one other feature here to use those. So let's see. And I'm also, And so also what we found is hopefully this won't be too cognitively taxing. I mean, this is just kind of a fun activity because we want to have something kind of contrived to show you this next card feature. But so I hope I'm not too distracting if I talk while you guys are, asking questions. Julius is responding to the questions about the web version versus the Skies version. Oh, this is great. Okay, so it looks like Brian thinks that that sort of looks like a ladder, like the rungs of a ladder, which would be involved. You're building a ladder, or you're climbing up a building. So that's a good mnemonic. Let's see. Another second, see if anybody comes up with any other mnemonics for build or for testing. Yeah, so Julius just posted a response to the question about iPad versus web version. So, I guess I could also post my idea here for nice. So someone posted this is great, a picture of Jenga. That sort of looks like maybe some Jenga blocks or something like that. It makes you think of Jenga, and you build Jenga. You're pulling things out. So I could see that motion. That's great. And then let's see if maybe we could get one for tester and improve. you know, these are fun activities. They get students thinking about, you know, how am I gonna, you know, remember this? You know, what's a trick? And you can see the connections that students make all over the place. And you might imagine that after they've seen, you know, 20 different, you know, ideas from their classmates, they've got enough, you know, connections in their mind that they remember. Okay.
So yeah, this is great.
Okay, testing is like longer, shorter, shorter, shorter. Yeah, exactly. So it's like it's long, but you got to do these short little, you know, tests, you know. So okay, that's great. So you know, here's, you know, you guys have all given us some ideas here, and now we have a video right here, and what I'd like you to do is watch the video, and then attach to this question, and you notice now it's gray. And I want you to attach to this question, attach your answer, and just put what you think it meant. And you know, try not to peek at the answer. You know, so we'll kind of cover those up. And yeah, so put your answer here. And you notice this card looks a little bit different. It's got these jagged edges on the bottom, because what we like to do is you know, give students a chance to kind of share all their work and for everyone to see it. But there are times when you may want students to just share something with you as the teacher and share, you know, independent work.
Right. Yeah, and this is part of our gradual release of responsibility, where we start with things that are really teacher-centered. We start going to more student-centered activities, but still very collaborative, and then we end on some sort of individual assessment, where it's really just between the teacher and the student and not sort of shared with everyone. And this, we're going to cover up that response. It still shows up on our screen, but not on everyone else's screen. You know, students can't see each other's answers.
So we've already got a post as an answer, but you all as participants only see your own post. You notice that when you hit post, the yellow post now said PM.
Interesting. Okay. On the web app, you can't provide.
So when we go back over and we show you what we see as the teachers, so as the moderator of the group, you see everybody's responses, but individual, you know, students don't see each other's response, and so that's why that card is a little bit different. You can choose to have a card not allow public posts.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. So we turned mnemonics from a very personal sort of test and improve, test and improve. Yes, and indeed, that was test and improve. So we turned mnemonics from something very personal. It's like everyone, you know, just comes up with their own personal things, to something where everyone can really, to a really social activity, where everyone can post their things and help the collective. Okay, so let's go on to the next group.
So now what you guys are going to want to do is to swipe from the side. Start with your finger off the screen and then swipe onto the screen, and you should see that appear. And if you have any troubles, you can also just press the triple stack button right up there in the corner. And so once you press that up there, you should see that triple stack button. Then you can press where it's blue to move back one level, and then we can go into the next section of our presentation, part 2, interactive presentations.
So we're just going to show you a bunch of mini examples, like little set pieces, but then we really want to be able to get maybe to the last part of our presentation, which is we're going to try to make what we call a 10-minute lesson, not a lesson done in 10 minutes, but a lesson made in 10 minutes that your teachers could use for like maybe 2 or 3 class periods. And we're going to show you the structure of that. So it's like a little improv activity where you come up with the ideas and we implement it really fast. Okay, so the first thing is, Skies is great for these sort of interactive presentations. You might notice that, you know, on a PowerPoint, you have to really like pick and choose what you're going to be able to put into a slide. Sometimes there's too much information. You either crowd it onto one slide or you make like a million slides. Here, you don't really have to make those compromises or choices anymore. You can really take the key ideas, the core ideas, put them on the main path. You can add videos. You know, how many of you have tried to include video on like PowerPoint and share it with your friends? I mean, it's really hard. You have to put an attachment. You have to do this. Everything here is on the cloud. Everything here is always ready, always present. And any sort of supplemental pictures or whatever, you don't need to try to put 15 of them onto a slide. You can just hang them down below and people can browse through them. And this is great for differentiation of instruction as well. You can put more advanced materials or web links or papers, scientific papers, in places where students can go and like browse later as supplemental material. So that's the first thing. So let's go back up a group, and let's go to number 3, instant student responses.
Okay, so now we're going back, and now we're into 3 here. So let us know if we're moving between these two groups too quickly, or if you have followed us, you're in this group. Right. So yeah. All right. So here's a lesson that we did on for elementary students, and so on physical weathering. So the nice thing is that we can get a lot of this feedback, and so you hear we got something on physical weathering, and then we like you said in Pasadena we actually have a higher than average number of students that are underrepresented in STEM and that are English language learners and are low socioeconomic sector. So we can put some of these vocabulary and review words. But then if you click on this arrow, you're taken to web links that show you examples, these various examples, and then we can also so here we've got some examples, and then what you can also see below it are examples of student questions. And so here students in real time we're posting questions about this, and you can really kind of see what they're interested in, and then you can post responses. And sometimes the students are actually posting responses to other students. So this is what Julius was saying about differentiation. It's really nice is that the students that are really eager, really advanced, they can explore within this sandbox and keep themselves busy. And then we can also do fun clicker style things to check for understanding. Students can also rate their self-reported understanding. Some people ask what these numbers are about, so I give it a 5 because I really got that. And in our lessons, we always try to have a simple activity. Like this one involved a cracker to determine the difference between chemical and physical weathering. And then we ask the students a question. So here's a question, and here are some of the student responses that they came up with. Some of them added pictures, and and this is really great as a quick way to get feedback from your students and see what they're interested in. And this is really nice. So you can definitely, there's a question in the chat window about flipped classes. And flipped classrooms are sometimes an idealized situation where you can rely on students to actually take their textbooks home, or that they have textbooks, or they have resources. And we don't take that for granted in many of our classrooms, that students have access to the web and things like that. So what we like about this approach is that, yeah, we can bring in the aspects of a flipped classroom with a traditional classroom. So we can provide this material, but with this level of ease of interactivity, we can spend a lot more time on the students asking the questions and practicing problems and seeing real student work.
Yeah, and this is called blended instruction, and really it lets us have our cake and eat it too, because students can read extra stuff if they want, but they can do it within class, and they can also be doing activities. It just integrates everything, teacher-led instruction, student-led activities, everything within one class period, and it works great.
So we have a place here where, if you have any questions, you guys can post questions if you feel like it. And also you can see that, for the teachers, we also will kind of throw at the end, sort of the learning objectives, and we have all of the NGSS cross-cutting concepts and practices in SKYs as well. And so sometimes we link those so that we can see which lessons have covered which topics and make sure we have good spread.
Wonderful. Okay, let's go on to the next group, which is promoting discussions. So we've already seen a bunch of this with your extraterrestrial sort of ET activity. Here we did a lesson on ants and ant hills and all the different, you'd see this tiny little mound on the ground, but there might be 6 feet of branching ant tunnels underneath the sand, which is kind of crazy and nutty if you think about. And when we do a mini lecture like this or a mini lesson like this, it really captures student interest. And let me see, I think, do I have examples of student questions? Oh, okay. Maybe we didn't copy those over quite yet. So James is going to look for them, but you can just sort of imagine. You can imagine like dozens of student questions, and then dozens of our responses that we looked up to add to the student questions. And then students also answering each other's questions all about ants. So everything from like, can ants build tunnels underneath the ocean? to how far, do these ant colonies spread, which is crazy because they spread all up and down our way up to North America. More ants than people in the world, like by a factor of 1,000. And so we're copying those over right now, and you guys should see. And this is another great thing, by the way, is that if you ever need to make a change, if you were doing this with like a paper-based worksheet, if you wanted to make a change in the worksheet, you would have to go and make a lot of photocopies all over again. Here, you make one change, and you hit refresh, and suddenly you see all the questions that we're talking about here. So yeah, we have everything from what's the largest megacolony we know of, which like 2 students actually answered.
Yeah, we didn't do
based
that.
on web references.
Put your sloth to work.
Yeah, to what happens after an earthquake, to how can they be connected across oceans. People talking about, well, they probably just get transported, by people taking fruits and vegetables with them, do all sorts of references. And so we see a lot of discussions that get created and coordinated on skies. Flying ants, queen ants, all these sort of things. So we're going to go for one last example before we go on to our lesson improv activity, which we're very excited about here, which is number 5, student projects. So this is the ultimate,
sort of release and turning over, to the student. So, the videos are great. The clickers are great. I mean, those are sort of simple. They don't really get, too deep. You see these averages. I mean, when students take videos of themselves, that's getting at a better summative assessment. And it's easy to kind of flip through and watch a bunch of videos. But what's really great is when we can have students work on their own portfolio, rather than sort of like a trifold board, where you can't really embed media. They actually make their own lesson. And so here's a lesson that was made by one of our, she's a freshman in high school, and you can see she wanted to do one on high fructose corn syrup. And she did a really great job breaking things down, in sort of the main topics on, on the main path up there, and then coming up with fun, supplemental things on the bottom, web links, fun facts, flashcards. You ask yourself, I think I know the answer, and you click it and you say, oh yeah, I got that one right, or oh no, I got that one wrong. Web links, how to make your own high fructose corn syrup, fun little like engaging, checking for understanding. She followed our suggestions, coming up with a fun activity and protocol. Real world applications. This is the do-it-yourself high fructose corn syrup, and then again a place where her peers could post questions so she could answer them. So this is what's really great is when you can then turn it over to the students, and they have a lot of fun creating these lessons themselves, and they can post all sorts of rich media.
Yeah, students make great teachers, and this is really the highest level of student engagement we see, is when they get really into presenting things to their fellow students and making a full lesson themselves. And they also then appreciate a little more what the teacher has to go through in preparing all the material for them to learn in such a nice way. Okay, so let's get to our improv activity. I hope everyone is still with us. I know we've been doing all the talking for the last 20 minutes, but if everyone could go to number 6, lesson improvisation. And we're mostly, I guess we can just do this through Zoom, since everyone has access to the Zoom chat window. So could we have some science topics, just any general science topics? Weather, genetics, microbiology.
Okay, oh great, we already got one, marine biology. Okay, so I'm gonna start adding these to a card. Okay, we got marine biology. What else do we have? You guys can.
So just type it in, and we're gonna choose one of them. So choose some hard stuff. Come on, marine biology.
We're
gonna make topics. A lesson right now in front of you.
Interest.
Electric
circuits.
Okay.
Let's see. What other interests do you guys have? Any topics? Any science topics? Right now, it's going to be a coin toss between marine biology and electrical circuits.
I mean, think of a topic where you were like, oh, if I got that, I want to see you guys do that. Yeah. You
polarization.
Polarization. Nice. Okay.
Let's see if we get one more.
One more? Any more? Okay.
All right. Polarization.
So we're going to go ahead and pick one. Maybe. Okay, let's do electrical circuits. That's a sort of general topic. Now the thing is, these are major themes. You know, these are not really by themselves something that would translate into a lesson idea. We need to narrow it to something that would actually, you know, be a cool story, a cool thread, a cool point to tell. So to do this, let's do some collective brainstorming. Here's where you guys can help us by typing in the chat window as I go ahead and browse the web. And I'm going to start looking up information on electrical circuits. Okay.
All right. So Julius is going to...
So I'm going to start typing in electrical circuits.
There you go.
You know, a path where electrons flow around in a circle. That's why it's a circuit. It needs to flow into a circle. This is great. Someone posted a picture of electric eels. So that's a really interesting idea. You know, that electrical circuits could have to do with electrical eels and how the eels work. You know, and we get a little bit of information about an electric fish. Yeah, how do electrical eels work? It's a knife fish. Well, that's interesting. It's got 2 chambers. You know, you've got this oral cavity. This is great, but it's not telling us how electrical current gets generated. Okay, now we get this thing about how the brain can send a signal, opening ion channels. You can generate an electric current in a manner similar to a battery. So you've got a whole bunch of stacked plates. So you've got all these ion channels that can open. So now we're seeing links to nerves and nerve conduction and ion channels. So these are great. I mean, these could all be good things. And electrical plaques that can produce a shock up to 860 volts, 1 amp, duration of 2 milliseconds. Now we're talking about building up a lot of charge and then releasing it in a very short duration of time. So there's a connection to rail guns, full guns, things that the Army is developing to shoot projectiles. Parallel versus series. Yes, you know, you charge them in parallel and then discharge them in series, then you can get really high voltages. And then electrolocation. This is a really fascinating thing too, the idea that electricity can be used not just to immobilize prey, but to localize prey, to figure out where they're at. Anyone else has any other lesson ideas, please post them, because we're going to be giving you guys a poll so that you can choose what lesson you want us to make. So far we have railguns, parallel versus series, electrolocation, we have capacitors, we have maybe ion channels and the nervous system as some sort of electrical circuit. And so this is great. And I'm just going to go ahead and type up something about ion channels, just so we have an idea. Okay, so like a little pore, and you can build up, you know, some chemical potential of ions, you know, a lot more sodium on one side, a lot more potassium on the other. You can have active transport. You build up energy so that you can transport things across a gradient. So you can do all sorts of fun stuff with ion channels too. So while I'm talking and, you know, fishing around, Tesla coils. Tesla coils is another cool one. How do these work? How do Tesla coils, you know, take, you know, little, you know, low voltage, high current and build them up into something that's really high voltage, low current, really high electrical potential. And so we're going to put this up into a poll. You can see that, you know, we're able to make these things sort of in real time, you know, on the fly, because so many things we do in the classroom, so many things teachers do in the classroom, and so many things we do as scientists are improvised. They're on the fly. You know, we don't have the luxury of necessarily always being able to plan out or completely prepare things, and nor would we want to, because science is an iterative process. And so if you guys refresh, you can see we presented to you 6 lesson ideas. I know there's only like a few of you here, so we'll, you know, the voting might be a little tricky, but everyone vote on the lesson idea, please. We're going to collect the one that everyone wants to see, and then we're just going to take the last now 13 minutes. The longer you guys take the vote, the less time we have to make a lesson, which is great because that's putting more time pressure on to make a really good lesson. And let's see what everyone wants. Let's see what everyone wants. I'm curious. I don't know what lesson we're going to be making up until I press this button. 2 people say railguns. 1 person says ion channels. Okay, I'm going to give everyone 20 more seconds, but if we don't hear from anyone else, it's going to be railguns, which is fun because did you ever try to build a railgun, James?
I wanted to. Yeah, I always wanted to. I think I had some plans. I got pretty close once.
Yeah.
But now here's our chance. After this, we'll have a protocol for how to build a railgun.
I think James built a monorail one time.
Yeah,
a maglev device. Yeah, that was really cool. Okay, railguns it is.
I think that was my dad's answer to let's build a railgun. He said,
well, a monorail, useful, doesn't kill people.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. Okay. So railguns it is. Okay. So now, so Julius is gonna make a lesson on railguns, and so he's gonna start making this, carrying on the path here, and I'm going to narrate. And I'll just sort of emphasize, the things he's doing in skies and how they follow our, our approach to the structure of a lesson. What we like to start out with is an engage, and a lot of teachers follow a 5E model where the first E starts with engage. And so, typically, we'll do maybe a search in YouTube for, the keyword and science activity, and we'll find something engaging that we can put at the very beginning of the lesson, and then we'll kind of move on to some guided instruction. And this is something that we really in our weekly NGSS workshops work with teachers to tell them to kind of use us as a content resource, and to really spend time finding a story and taking a position on something, the science that they want to teach, rather than being led by the disciplinary core ideas or the performance expectations. Because I think in the past things have been so standards driven that they kind of want to teach to a particular standard, and the disciplinary core ideas are I like how those are written compared to the standards, but still it's not a curriculum, it's a framework. And so we need to, I think, try to make it, I think it's helpful to kind of follow the story. And what I'm sure you find, given that you guys are a special set of teachers, is that the NGSS kind of fall out of that. So most of the cards we make are info cards. Info cards have a title and a description, and so there's the title, a battlefield meteoroid, and a little description, and then you can always add a media card. And so the media card that Julius chose is a web link, and he's just posting in the web link. And this helps us kind of keep everything in the sandbox. So when students are doing simple searches, they can use Bing, and it has a safe search built in so that they can search around, and they don't have to leave the app and go outside somewhere and search. And so so now when he posts this card, students will just be able to tap the arrow, and the arrow will hyperlink them to the video, and that'll be the engage piece. They'll see that, and they'll be blown away by the kinetic energy, no pun intended. Right, so we have our engage. So then we like to give a little bit of guided instruction, right? So we still lecture, but we just lecture a little bit. And the research says that the human, not much less children, but human attention span is about 15 minutes. And so we really try to limit ourselves to 15 minutes of direct instruction, and not just encourage students to add their own questions, notes, links as we talk, but also give them time, and really set aside a few minutes, put up a timer and say, okay, you guys post your questions. And people start thinking and start posting questions, and more people post questions. And so here we're going to post another information card about capacitors, which are related to this topic, and just do a Bing image search. And this is giving us pictures of real capacitors, but we want something a little more diagrammatic. So we add a different keyword there. And it's really easy to just do a few iterations of this sort of Bing searching to find something that kind of captures the point we want to get across, and then we embed that. And that's typically what we try to do with all of these info cards, is to have a nice little title, simple description, and a good image to get a visual aid. All right, so and these are going to be the main lecture cards. These are on the main path, and then below that is where we would put supplemental points. So the things on the top, the order of those might be a little more, flexible. But when we start branching down, then we would kind of follow, sort of a step-by-step. And, so here we're talking about, series and parallel. You can imagine that below this card, you might attach examples of what, something series looks like and what parallel looks like, and maybe below that, attach cards that show, the mathematical formula for series versus the mathematical formula for parallel, which would give your advanced students, something to look at and think about and be challenged by. And oftentimes in our lessons, we'll put 2-star and 3-star challenges. And, when students finish early, if they finish early, we'll ask them to post a research card, post an example of, a web page that you found that's a good resource. And so, scientific literature is something that's really encouraged in the new standards. Yeah, and again, this just kind of helps break things up so that, you don't have one card with tons of information, but you just, you have one card that has key points, and below that you have, supplemental information.
It's good.
So we also like to, like we said, really explicitly, embed into our lesson checks for understanding. Opportunities where we ask students questions, or put little quiz cards. And also, one thing that we really like about sort of collaborative learning is how it can not only translate for students but for teachers. So if I wanted to add something to one of Julius's cards, I could do that, and we could collaborate on lessons together. So I kind of see an opportunity for me to do that with his parallel versus series. And so I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm going to add a supplemental card that is about parallel, and then I'll post another one for series. I'm just going to, again, use an info card and just for a big picture on, series circuits versus parallel circuits. So, it's a little bit easier for teachers to, really collaborate together on lessons. And that's one thing that we found a lot of value in. I mean, as a classroom teacher and spending more than a decade in K-12 classrooms, that oftentimes you feel like you're sort of stuck in your own class, and all day you might only see middle schoolers, and so we are actively trying to find ways to give provide outlets to teachers to meet other teachers and to collaborate. So there you can, if you look, you see under the series and parallel now I posted some examples of that. So So Julius is working on a check for understanding. Many of you are familiar with clickers, and so we just embedded our clicker. So these don't run out of batteries, and you don't have to worry about setting them up. What this allows you to do, if you have the students do your clicker question, is you can see, and also the students can see themselves. What percentage of the class got it right, got it wrong. So this is nice low stakes testing. Students aren't reluctant to, just put that in. They know they're not, going to get dinged, but they're providing you with valuable feedback. And one thing I like about this question is that you can see when you're making a question, all of these types of media, you still have access to all these types of media. So if you wanted to put a picture in your matching card, or you wanted to do a little drawing for your clicker card, you can do that. We can do that all in the same place. So yeah, I feel like one of the powerful things is just having your lesson in a place where you can collaborate with others, but also where you can have your students collaborating with you. and as a result, so that you have student work embedded on your lesson, which is great for sharing with your colleagues later. You don't have to say, well, let me show you the stack of student work, right? But it's embedded right there. Also, you'll notice that Julius and I are both teachers. We're both moderators, and so both of our cards have this blue border around it. And whereas if you were to start adding questions, and you guys could totally do that. You're more than happy to start, posting questions and pretending like you're a student and taking some of these quizzes. But you'll notice that your posts won't have this blue border because you're students in our roster. And we could promote you to teachers and moderators, but this keeps student work protected so that we can share lessons and protect student data. So we just have 1 minute left.
Okay.
So
I'm going to go through some of the lesson design philosophy at play here. So you might notice a few things. The first is we start off with something engaging, something that students might find really exciting. And this is a Wall Street Journal article, literally called a battlefield meteoroid. If you guys ever played those video games where you have the hand of God, you press the little button and a lightning bolt strikes down and destroys the enemy instantly, this is pretty much what it would be. It's got 5 times the range of existing systems. You link it into a battleship's nuclear power plant, and it shoots things at Mach 7 so fast it doesn't need explosives. It just hits it, the thing gets vaporized instantly. And we could link in YouTube videos, we could link in things that the kids would find really exciting about these sort of systems. But then we can talk about, well, how do you get all that electrical energy to be released in such a small amount of time, such a short burst? And so we can talk about capacitors. So at the very beginning, we always start teacher-centered. People always say, oh, lecture. We don't like lecture, we like hands-on. But the truth is, even the most diehard, constructivist would say, students can't create things out of thin air. They need some background information. You need to be teaching them something solid. And so we always make sure we have some solid piece of the lesson where we're transferring, a good deal of information onto them. So we're talking about capacitors. We're talking about storing of charge, electrical storage. And we can build in links to things like cell phones, and could you charge your cell phone in 2 minutes instead of 2 hours, and things like that. Supercapacitors, nanotubes. There are a lot of possible supplemental information cards that could be branched down here if we had a little more time, like 5 more minutes. But we don't, so we skipped on to the next thing. We talk about series and parallel, and how you can switch things around so that you can charge one way and discharge another. Again, these are things that we could add supplements to, but the main point is that you can reconfigure the way these capacitors are arranged to allow you to deliver a large amount of energy to one projectile in a short amount of time. And I think I might have gotten it backwards, actually. You don't want high voltage for a railgun, you want high current, because I think it's I cross B for the force, not B cross B. Then we can talk about the Lorentz force, and this is a perfect little diagram. It shows how the magnetic field of the rails interacts with the magnetic field of the projectile. And if I hit refresh, I can see that James actually attached series and parallel contributions on. So multiple teachers and TAs can actually be working together to make a lesson appear. And then, of course, we can have some checks for understanding. So we talk about the right-hand rule. When you have an electrical current, which way the magnetic field goes, you can check for understanding that way. You can introduce them to that to remind the ones who didn't get it. You can have them say, okay, now you've got this loop of current. You have this huge current growth in the conductor. Which way does the Lorentz force go? Which way does the magnetic force go? And again, if we had a little more time, we could certainly come up with more detailed checks for understanding. But this will get into the point where we're thinking about directions of force, directions of current. And now, we've gone very teacher-centered, but something kind of student-centered in the sense that, we're casting our questions and we're fishing for responses. But that's still really very teacher-driven. We now want to transition to things that students are pretty much doing on their own without us intervening too much, with us just providing a sort of minimum facilitatory role. So in this case, we switch to an activity. There are many other possibilities. We could be doing debates. We could be doing competitions. We could be having them post data and commenting on each other's data. We could be asking them to ask open-ended questions and reply to each other's open-ended questions. In this case, we're having them do an activity, which is to say we give them a piece of bare copper wire, a 9-volt battery, scissors, so that they can cut a little conductor out and try shooting it across. I don't know if it's going to work. They don't know either. For all they know, we've done it before 1 million times. For all they know, we've done it 0 times. That's the fun. That's the open-ended aspect of it. They try it, they post it, they share data, they make comments on each other's data. And then finally, we always like to end with something very student-specific, And this is, again, the gradual transfer of responsibility model, where it starts from us doing it to them taking it over, to them being individually assessed. And now, having done the experiment, they can talk about ways they can improve it so that it works on a larger scale. Do they use a thicker wire, a longer wire? How does the resistance go? Does it vary with length? Does it vary with thickness? Is temperature an issue? Is overheating an issue? And so they can get into all these things. And we have ways for them to post cards such that they're the ones who can see, or we're the only ones who can see it, and the students cannot see each other's cards. So that's pretty much it for making a lesson. And if you want more information on the structure of this, you can see number 7, which is structure of a lesson.
Yeah, and so yeah, thanks guys for everyone coming, and Brian for organizing this. And we have some opportunities over the summer to collaborate, and we'll be using Skies with motivated STAR teachers and SRC teachers, so we can talk about how Brian can send you more information about how we'll be doing that. And yeah, we're more than happy to answer your questions, and thanks for coming, and we really look forward to the chance to getting to working with you guys.
Great. Thank you guys. I very much appreciate all of the work that you put into Skies and for showing us this afternoon. And thank you, Serena, Tanner, and Warren. I see that Kayla had to depart to the lunch break while she was teaching. But thanks very much, and we hope to keep in contact about you as the project grows, and probably be talking with Skies during our summer workshops this summer. So great.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to hearing from anyone who's interested.
All right. Bye.